The night the handcuffs clicked shut, the air itself seemed to harden, as if the walls of the county jail had decided to watch and remember. For Officer Nathan Cole, authority had become a habit so deep he no longer felt it. For Sarah Whitmore, the woman led through the fluorescent corridor. Every step felt like a sentence already passed. In that first breathless moment, when power and fear collided, something inside the building shifted, because one man believed the badge made him untouchable, and one woman believed silence was the only way to survive. If you believe in kindness, accountability, and second chances, even when the odds are stacked against them, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach the hearts that need them most. The jail sat on the edge of a small Midwestern town, a concrete block pressed between cornfields and a river that never stopped moving. Sarah Whitmore had grown up nearby, the kind of place where church bells marked the weeks and neighbors noticed when a porch light stayed off. She had been arrested on a technical violation after a string of bad decisions that began with caring for a sick parent and ended with missing court dates she couldn't afford to attend. She wasn't dangerous, but she was exhausted. Her beauty, which people noticed before her fear, became another burden to carry. Inside the holding area, she learned quickly that being seen could be as threatening as being ignored. Nathan Cole had worn the uniform for 12 years. He had once believed in it with the clean faith of a rookie, convinced that rules could straighten crooked lines. Over time, praise and shortcuts had blurred together. Supervisors liked his numbers, complaints were rare and vague. He had learned how to push boundaries without leaving fingerprints, how to use tone and timing as tools. When he looked at Sarah, he didn't see a case file. He saw a test of how far his authority could stretch. He assigned himself tasks near her cell, controlled small privileges, delayed simple requests. None of it left marks, but all of it left weight. Days blurred into a pattern of uncertainty for Sarah. Meals arrived late, paperwork went missing, and every appeal for clarity seemed to circle back to Nathan's desk. She felt herself shrinking, not from violence, but from the constant reminder that her comfort depended on one person's mood. The challenge she faced wasn't just confinement, it was the quiet erosion of dignity. She struggled to keep her mind intact by counting steps during recreation, by reciting hymns her grandmother once sang, by remembering the feel of sunlight on her face. She learned to document everything in her head because pen and paper were privileges she couldn't count on. What began to change her wasn't a sudden rescue, but a decision made during a sleepless night when the lights hummed and the river outside whispered through the walls. Sarah decided she would not disappear. She started noticing patterns, times, dates, the way requests were delayed only when Nathan was on shift. She paid attention to cameras and corners, to who else was present. She didn't confront him, she prepared. Courage, she learned, didn't have to be loud to be real. Outside the cell block, Rebecca Monroe, a civilian oversight coordinator recently hired by the county, was learning how difficult it was to improve a system that believed it was already fine. Her inbox filled with minor complaints that went nowhere, and she was warned not to rock the boat. When a volunteer chaplain mentioned a detainee who seemed unusually anxious about one officer, Rebecca listened. She requested footage under the guise of a routine audit, combing through hours of ordinary nothingness to find the small irregularities most people missed. Authority leaves patterns, and patterns leave proof. Nathan felt the pressure before he understood it. Access changed, schedules shifted, and a supervisor began standing closer during rounds. He told himself it was temporary, that nothing he'd done could be pinned down. But power thrives on certainty, and uncertainty unsettled him. For the first time in years he hesitated. He realized how much he had relied on silence, not just Sarah's, but the institution's. Sarah was transferred to a different unit pending review, a move that felt like stepping into open air after weeks underwater. She met with a public defender named Caleb Harris, who took notes as if every word mattered. With Rebecca's findings and Sarah's meticulous memory, a picture formed, not of a monster, but of a man who had let small abuses accumulate into a pattern of control. The challenge now was endurance. Investigations move slowly, and hope can wear thin when justice asks for patience. The town reacted the way towns often do. Some defended the uniform out of habit, others whispered apologies they didn't know how to say aloud. Sarah focused on healing, She attended counseling sessions offered through a community program, learned grounding techniques, and rediscovered her own voice in writing letters she never sent. She thought often about forgiveness, not as a gift she owed, but as a boundary she could choose later, on her own terms. When the review concluded, consequences followed. Nathan was placed on administrative leave, then dismissed after findings confirmed misconduct. The decision didn't feel triumphant, it felt necessary. For Sarah, accountability didn't erase the past, but it changed the future. The system, nudged by evidence and persistence, adjusted its guardrails. New training was implemented, oversight expanded, and complaints were taken seriously. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. Sarah's case was resolved with time served and support services. She walked out into the same Midwestern sunlight, older than when she'd gone in, but steadier. She volunteered with a local reentry program, helping others navigate the maze she had survived. She learned that beauty, when paired with resilience, could be a mirror that forced systems to look at themselves. If this story is touching your heart right now, if it's reminding you that courage can be quiet and change can begin with a single choice, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and stay connected with the channel. Your engagement tells these stories that they matter. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the word justice if you believe accountability and compassion can exist together, and share what this story made you feel. Years later, the river still moved past the jail, indifferent to uniforms and walls. But inside the town, something had shifted. Sarah Whitmore had reclaimed her name, her time, and her future. She learned that second chances aren't handed down by authority, they're built by people who refuse to vanish. And while one man learned the cost of forgetting why a badge exists, a community learned that watching closely, listening carefully, can turn silence into change.